Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. This is your host Eddie Kanobot and this is Isaaca News. So today on Isaaca News we want to be looking at two things majorly. First is the Ecom Cocoa Bar Factory. So the governor of Cross River State, Governor Ben Ayade, sometime last year had commissioned the ultra-modern cocoa factory, which is supposed to actually convert cocoa beans into cocoa bars. So cocoa bars is what the chocolate industry needs to make chocolates and maybe chocolate or chocolate biscuits. So they are like that they are bars, they are rectangular bars that will be made. It's a semi-finished product. Then it will be shipped to the cocoa butter companies that will then turn it to what they want. That's one. And then secondly, we'll be looking at the cocoa industry in Nigeria, looking at the states, which state produce the highest amount of cocoa, how much the cocoa industry valued globally, how much is it valued in Nigeria, amongst the um, non-oil export products. Where does it rank? What potential does it have? How much of the Nigerian population does it employ? How much does it feed? Certain statistics to help us further understand the cocoa industry. And then those looking to invest in agriculture. Okay, what's the prospect? How profitable is this venture? How much demand exists on the global front or the Western front for cocoa, being made in Africa or particularly in Nigeria? This and many more are the things we're going to discuss in today's video. So I'd like you to stay tuned, to stay focused, to like, share, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section. All right, let's get straight into today's video.
We are here in the Cross River State Cocoa Processing Factory in Ecom. This is a factory that takes cocoa from cocoa bean to chocolate bar. So we go from tree to bar, which means right from the pod. As you plug the pod, it comes straight here to this cocoa factory, and this cocoa factory processes it through all its entire process lines. The beneficiation process adds so much value. Africa accounts for 86% of world cocoa production. Unfortunately, in terms of the economy, it only gains 6%, which means that Africa produces 86% of cocoa, exports the cocoa bean, and in turn, we go back and import chocolates back into Africa. This process has to come to an end. So what you find here is a full cocoa processing plant from start, right from the tree to the chocolate for final consumption. The process is a very clear process. It starts with separation cleansing until you get a clean bean. The clean bean goes through a complete conveyor system and goes through the entire process of fermentation, maceration, drying, until you get to a point where you get out your neem. What is special about the Ecom cocoa is a special slight bitter taste. Now most other cocoa products like chocolates, what you find is very sugary and very sweet, very fattening and very unhealthy. But the Ecom chocolate, our own chocolate brand, we try to use only the neem and get you the best of ingredients which contains that slight bitter taste. And that taste is an antioxidant which is particularly good for the body. So it is very important for you to know that as we debut Ecom chocolate into the market, it is African chocolate, 100% organic, grown in African soil, processed in Africa, and are made available to the world. You can imagine the shame that Africa produces 86% of world cocoa, yet only makes 6% of the income in its value chains. So this will put an end to that and will change that statistics. In another 6 months to come, that statistics will change because of the audacity of the Ecom cocoa processing plant. And above all, Cross River is the largest producer of cocoa. But because it has never had a proper grading process, It is being shipped into other states in Nigeria, graded at cocoa coming from those states and exported therefrom. We are going to ban the export of cocoa bean from Cross River. Last month we exported about 7,000 metric tons from Ecom. That has to stop. Now that this factory is on board, this industrialization is the right way to go, not just for Cross River and Nigeria, indeed Africa. Africa must learn to keep our raw materials and process it to end product. We must put an end to the export of raw materials.
So I hope you really paid attention to the video you just watched now. That was the governor of Cross River State, Ben Ayade, giving us statistics and figures as regards cocoa industry globally in Africa and in Nigeria as well. So you heard what he said. Africa currently has a problem of exporting its raw materials to Europe, or just maybe Europe or Asia, basically, and then we now end up importing a lot of the finished product of that raw material back into our country, and thereby we're going to have a net deficit in terms of return on investment. So we can maybe currently, as of last year, we actually got $500 million in revenue from cocoa exportation. We can lose all that money. We can lose all that money to importation of butter, of chocolate, of cocoa paste, and anything cocoa related that has been refined and into a finished product elsewhere in Europe. So these guys may spend maybe say $500 million to import cocoa, and they may go on to make about $2 or $3 billion. So they are making huge money. So the cocoa industry globally is valued at about $46 billion. And of these $46 billion, Africa purportedly only gains 6% of this money because it is exporting just raw materials. So there is a very huge need for us to actually, even if we cannot change it to finished product, we should change it at least semi-finished product, which is what Ben Ayade is doing right now in Cross River State. So with this, with the commissioning and with the setting up and commissioning of this ultramodern cocoa factory, what this what we stand to benefit from this is that we will not only grow cocoa as we've been growing for the past, I don't know, 60 70 years, very long. Cocoa has been is a very old export product in Nigeria, just like groundnut as well. But this factory would help us actually add value to this cocoa. So we're going to grow it, harvest it, take it to the factory, and make cocoa bars. If you know a little about how these big companies work, so many times big companies like this, what they do is they receive specifications from companies abroad who often buy from them. They say, okay, this is how I want you to make these cocoa bars. I need this amount of sugar in it. I need this amount of I don't know the constituent. I need it to be of this texture. I need it to be of this whatever. I need these additives and all this. So if you can have these kinds of specifications from companies abroad, we can make these cocoa bars with these specifications and ship it to them at a higher value. Meaning higher value means more money, and then they will now work on these cocoa bars and produce what they want. That's just one. Secondly, we can actually make butter that will be used by the local cocoa industry in Nigeria and supply Nigeria with its cocoa demands and cocoa butter demands. Thereby, all the money we've been spending for to import cocoa and cocoa butter and cocoa related products will actually stop because of the presence of this factory. So I really want us to understand how industrialization works and its impact in the economy. So there's a lot of agricultural revolution in Nigeria, and those who don't know, it's very unfortunate. I also at one point in life did not know, but it's happening across all sectors. You could just go and Google 10 most exported agricultural products in Nigeria and see how much has been exported this year. Okay, this year alone. I'm not even talking about the last 5 years. This year alone, the amount of billions of naira that has been, sorry, billions of dollars that have, yeah, I would say billions, because if you're adding across board all our exports, it's actually amount up to billions of dollars that have been attracted into the Nigerian economy due to agri and agri related exports. So back to cocoa. Okay, we stand to gain a lot. Now, one very beautiful thing about cocoa is that cocoa is the largest non-oil export product in Nigeria. So other than crude oil exportation, the second thing we export most in Nigeria in terms of financial value is cocoa. We make crazy amount of money from cocoa export. So if this is the most viable, and if this is the, I don't know, quote in quote, the most lucrative agro sector in Nigeria, I really feel that our private industry, our private firms and private investors should be diving headlong into the cocoa industry in order to provide all that this industry needs. This is the largest producer of money other than oil and gas related exports, cocoa. So our guys should be moving in to see how to, benefit maximally from cocoa export and cocoa related, businesses. So kudos to the governor of Cross River State for this that he has done, and we expect that these factories will be replicated elsewhere, and that they will not be mismanaged, or it will not just be a political stunt in order to gratify the hearts of the people, but then the company now goes to ruins. Okay, we don't want that to happen, and it will be very sad. But I strongly believe that things are going on smoothly as planned, and we're going to gain maximally from cocoa and from the cocoa industry in Nigeria. So cocoa is Nigeria's top agricultural export, and Nigeria in this year made 122 uh, 122 billion naira was earned from export of raw cocoa beans. 122 billion in the first quarter of this year. My God, see money in the first, and a lot of this now, a lot of these things you're seeing here, these figures you're seeing here, it is being done by small scale farmers. We have very few large scale cocoa producers in the country. Okay, so the sad thing about having this kind of farming system is that we cannot really account for the money coming in. Okay, it's the way cassava production is being done down south. If you're in the south region, a lot of people are producing cassava, and because of that, many people are selling. So you don't really tend to see the economic impact because it is being done by small scale farmers. If we had large scale farmers in their numbers in the cocoa industry, the effect will be felt by many, and the monetary benefit on the part of the people doing this would be huge. As I've already made a video about a woman making billions of dollars. I called her the cassava billionaire. Billions of dollars from making cassava. I think it should either Osun State or Ogun State. I can't remember the state right now, but it's bordering. I think it's a boundary state with Lagos State. It should be Osun or Ogun. No, she makes billions from not Gary production, no, from actually this thing we are talking about here, getting cassava and producing ethanol and producing sorbitol and other related, even some pharmaceutical products from cassava. So what she has done is she gets cassava and then she adds value to it in order to make it more, in order to make it more attractive to the international market. So that's the same thing we're expecting, from in the cocoa industry, that we can add a lot of value to what we are currently producing, so that it would be, very attractive, financially. So if we're making 122 billion from cocoa in first quarter of a year, then it is a very lucrative industry. It is the largest non-oil foreign exchange earner for Nigeria, cocoa, the largest. If I had any temptation to ever go into agriculture, I think I would actually want to go into cocoa production, because it makes a lot of money for Nigeria. Now, many of us would think that Nigeria is the highest exporter of cocoa. No, not so. Nigeria is ranked fourth in cocoa production, behind Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Indonesia in the world. So Cote d'Ivoire produces, I don't know, at one point it was whether 4 million tons. Now I can't verify that figure I just mentioned there, but Cote d'Ivoire is the largest producer of cocoa globally. Ghana is the second largest. That's so shocking. Ghana compared to Nigeria by size is very small, by population is very small, but they're the second largest producer of cocoa, and they produce millions of tons per annum. Indonesia is third and Nigeria is fourth, just with a capacity of let's say about 400,000 tons per annum. Although we are seeking to hit a number of 500,000 tons per annum by the year 2024, but this is still below expectation from the population we have here, and from the manpower, and the labor, just the people available to do work. Now, the major thing holding us back is small scale farming, absence of large scale farmers in the cocoa industry. And we're hoping that we can have more, big players come to the cocoa industry and not necessarily push out the small guys out of industry, but to see how to do this on a large scale base, so that as we can actually track. And I don't know what are failing me, but there's a lot you can stand to benefit if you go into large scale production. So a lot of our big guys in Nigeria, like Dangote, Julius Berger, BUA Group, even banks have gone into agriculture. Although a lot of them have gone into rice, tomato, and other things based on their market statistics and their analysis of what they stand to gain from venturing into these sectors of the economy. But if we could look into cocoa industry, I think there's a lot we stand to gain. There's a lot they stand to gain from going into cocoa production. So I really um, hope that the cocoa industry will be looked into by the federal government particularly, and by private firms, so that we can make more money than we currently do. Even from our current production, in fact, we can make far more money from our current production than we currently do, if and only if we look deeper into the cocoa industry. So this is all for today. This is a huge one by the governor of Cross River State, and at the Ecom Cocoa Factory, built and commissioned by Governor Ben Ayade. And we are also giving you info as regards how much Nigeria earns, and how much the global cocoa industry is worth, how much Nigeria makes, the prospect. Oh, I didn't mention, we employ uh, between 300 to 400,000 people earn a living from cocoa. That's 400,000 farmers. If you're comparing their family members, that's millions of people earning a living from cocoa. It employs a lot of people, and these people make money. I personally have a clue of how much cocoa is worth in Cross River State. I have, small information as to how much money the people over there make, because almost everybody making cocoa is exporting it, if not everybody, because Nigeria actually consumes about 6% of its cocoa production. So if we make 340,000 tons per annum, or 400,000 tons per annum, we only take 6%. So 10% of 400,000, will be 40,000. So if 40,000 is 10% of 400,000, but then we are not even um, consuming up to 10%, we're consuming about 6% of their cocoa production. So a lot of people are actually earning dollars by exporting this cocoa. So we are really hoping that it's going to continue. We're going to increase capacity, and we're going to have big players come to the cocoa markets to see how they can improve and equally make money from this. So please like, share, subscribe, share your comments, your thoughts on this. Until we see again, remain blessed.